Ministerial statement pursuant to paragraph A and B of subsection 2 of section 107 of the Constitution of Sierra Leone, Act number 6 of 1991. The Minister of Basic and Senior Secondary School Education to explain the role of the Ministry in addressing the challenges relating to the 2025 West African Senior School Certificate Examination. Mr. Minister.
Mr. Minister, can you sit down? Honorable members, the Minister of Basic and Senior Secondary School Education has been summoned to appear before this Honorable House to make a statement, a ministerial statement, regarding a huge number of our children that have been left out of this year's examinations, WAEC examinations. So that's all the more reason why it's here. If you could recall, that matter was raised by Honorable AKK. That's all the more reason why we invited the minister to come here and explain to not only the members of parliament, but to the public, because we deserve to know as the people's representatives, and of course the public too deserve to know the reason why this huge number of pupils have been left out of the exams this year. But Mr. Minister, before you proceed with your statement, let me just inform you that we have a huge problem on our hands as a nation right now. We have this mpox. It's raging through the population of Sierra Leone. And I want you to think about what to do relating to our children in these schools. It's also very important. We invite you someday to come and explain to us again the necessary steps the ministry is taking to make sure that our children in these schools are safe. Because mpox, honorable members, is raging through the population. We cannot hide it anymore. It's raging through the population. So, Mr. Minister, the schools are grounds where our pupils gather every day in their numbers, sometimes in very small classrooms. So, think about that. Maybe you can ramble along what the ministry is doing to make sure that we don't have an extremely serious situation on our hands as a nation. So, but proceed, Mr. Minister, proceed with the WAEC team. We'll come to that.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for bringing us to speed. We are just discussing with the Deputy Speaker and my Deputy that you triggered our minds. But we are talking about after this to have the Minister of Health. Yes. I'm happy you brought it in. What we are asking you to do for us now, under the Public Health Emergency, an act of Parliament, we are expecting an outbreak of state nature for the Minister to give a regulation as soon as possible. It's in the Act. That is the only time you will have Mr. Minister to act.
Yes.
Because if you go beyond what he has said, giving him the powers of Parliament, a serious violation.
We are not giving him any parts.
It's not him. I said when the regulations are out.
Yes.
What I'm saying, I said we want you to re-echo, to draw the attention of the Minister of Health, to give the regulations now.
Maybe we need to invite him, not so.
Yeah, but I don't want through you.
Yes.
He should give out a regulation in line with the mpox. So I said, in line with that, the Minister of Basic Education that has to put our children, but this is an outbreak now, everywhere.
Of course.
So I just want you to give a reminder to the Minister. But what you have said, I don't know. The Minister is supposed to be here. Yes. Perhaps what you have done, maybe in the next sitting we'll try to have.
We'll try to bring the Minister.
Thank you. I want to use this platform, sir, to say thank you very much. We are struggling in having, how do we get the Minister? but Mr. Speaker was very forceful for us to get a minister, but I said the procedure we should manage. And it's not any platform we have created to embarrass anybody. It's affecting all of us. So we are happy that we are able to come to consensus. And also want to say thanks to my colleagues on the other side. They brought the issue up, and we said yes. There's a provision under the provision of the business committee. We also have ministerial statement. So we are doing this. Perhaps subsidiary questions may follow, so that we can understand properly.
Yes.
And it's a use the platform to educate the public about what has happened at the WAEC level. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Yes.
My colleagues on the other side, I want to say thank you very much for bringing us to speak.
Yes, leader of the opposition.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm in full support of what the leader of government business is proposing. Of course, it cannot come at a better time than now, at least before next sitting. My only concern, another ministerial statement is well in place. And it's a desire that we do it soonest. But it referred to public health emergency. As we speak now, there is nothing like public health emergency. There is no emergency. There is no proclamation to that effect. And even before it is done, we cannot be averse to any sort of proclamation. Because it's for the interest of our people. But by law, by procedure, there is none, as I speak. There is none. So for ministerial statements that doesn't need too much bureaucracy, I think we can do that quickly. So the minister through this house will inform the nation at large as to the import status in this country and some precautionary measures that they have taken, of which they desire members to comply. That one can be done immediately because we need no too much bureaucracy. But as it is now, there is no public health emergency.
Mr. Speaker, you see, because we had the corona, the Ebola, we all agree in this house. That's about the last time talking about combating synthetic drugs, push. We said we should stop about talking about the state of emergency. So we said let us have an act like we have for the last affidavit. That we don't need to come to parliament, you don't need to have a public health emergency. So we said you should have a regulation, you should give out a regulation under the public health that gives you the latitude to enforce certain laws. That if you are talking about schools, you should have a regulation guiding what should be done at the schools so that you cannot enhance the spread of the virus whatsoever we are talking about. Under these provisions, we are avoiding certain misuse of powers given to certain sectors. So Parliament, by own regulations and by Act of Parliament, we give these powers to the ministry so that they can use it in line with what we have. So nobody has to declare public health emergency. But I will make a reference to a public health emergency where necessary. You don't. There is no, we have not done proclamation yet. There is none now. But there is a regulation. You don't even know to proclaim public health emergency anymore. But there is a rule. Please, when you are talking, I was paying attention. There is a law that's giving powers like you have for the last fever. It's there. So what is the question about? So, Mr. Speaker, let's proceed. What we are asking you to do is to remind the minister to quickly see how he can address by bringing regulations out. Yes. Thank you very much. So give effect to regulations. We are just asking you to do that for us.
Honorable leader, leader of government business, and honorable leader of the opposition. I just introduced my subject, and you are now debating it. You are now debating it. It's not even supposed to be a core subject. I just jogged the attention of Mr. Minister. And you have taken the whole thing from my hands and debating it now. Anyway, we'll get to that. Thank you very much. Now, honorable members, this minister is here today, pursuant to Section 107 of the Constitution of Sierra Leone. Section 107, subsection 2, paragraph A and B. I'll read for your edification. Now, section 107 reads, a minister, subsection 2. A minister may be summoned before Parliament or a committee thereof. A, to give an account of any matter falling within his portfolio. B, to explain any aspect of government policy. That's why he's there. So that's all the more reason why this minister was summoned. And going forward, this house is going to be inviting ministers, different ministers, to explain different aspects of government policy to this house. You know what I mean? Members of the public are key on knowing what we do here.
Yeah, no.
Or the steps we take in addressing public concerns. So that's why it's here. So, Mr. Minister, proceed.
Okay.
Honorable Mr. Speaker, honorable members.
Our argumenting is easy to come to this house.
Are we? Oh, it is disappeared. All right.
It's all right, Mr. Minister. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, let me just respond to the points made by the Speaker around MPOX. We are currently monitoring the situation, and I'll be delighted to come back to give this House an update on the Ministry's response to the surge in MPOX cases. I rise today to address a matter of grave concern, one that speaks to the heart of our commitment to educational accountability, quality assurance, and the rights of our pupils to fair and timely access to national examinations. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the role of my ministry has been one of trying to address and resolve all challenges to the extent possible. I'm happy to report that in trying to address and resolve these challenges, I have involved honorable members of this House in the process. Permit me to explain these challenges and how we have tried to address and resolve them in some detail. Unlike the National Primary School Examination, NPSE, and the Basic Education Certificate Examination, BECE, which are both national exams, the papers for which are only taken by candidates from Sierra Leone, the West African Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination WAEC is an international exam and is subject to the rules, regulations, and procedures agreed by all member countries, that is Nigeria, Ghana, the Gambia, Liberia, and of course Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone has a great deal of flexibility in what it can do with regard to its national exams. For example, it can play around with the dates of submission of continuous assessment scores, something which is extremely difficult, if not impossible, in the case of WAEC. Prior to 2024-2025 school year, schools have been submitting entries for WAEC directly to WAEC without any checks by the ministry. Prior to the sitting of the May and June 2024 WAEC, it was brought to the attention of my ministry that one, some schools appeared to be entering bogus candidates, and two, many schools had done their submissions very late and would not be able to do the batch registration before WAEC portal would be closed. It would be noted that no single member country determines when the international WAEC portal should be closed or open, and it is completely a WAEC matter. However, when the information reached me, I made frantic appeals to WAEC, but these appeals fell on deaf ears. The reason for the rejection is that Sierra Leone had a long track record of non-compliance with this deadline. Consequently, many candidates could not upload before the portal closed last year. This led to a November and December sitting of the Sierra Leone school candidates paid for by the government of Sierra Leone, for which I sought an executive clearance for additional resources to pay for these exams. Now, through the CPSS, which is the Conference of Principals of Secondary Schools, and radio announcements, discussions, schools were informed and warned repeatedly about the importance of uploading required information to WAEC portals that are open in a timely manner. Let me just spend a few minutes to address this issue of bogus candidates. So on this bogus candidate issue, which was brought to the attention of my ministry by a member of this House, checks were carried out this year, and it was confirmed that some schools had entered candidates that did not qualify to sit WAS as school candidates. I would like to refer members to the 2023 Education Act, which specifically states that candidates for WAS must have passed their BECE examination. During our engagement, or the ministry's engagement with this House, we were directed to carry out checks on WAS entries submitted by schools moving forward. Schools were requested to submit the BECE details of their candidates that were entering to sit the 2025 WAS. These details started appearing in bits and pieces at MBSSE headquarters in late July. A large number did not start appearing until the middle of late August. In order to ensure that the checks were carried out rapidly, the checking process was fully automated so that several schools could be checked together in minutes. What was discovered was that a great majority of schools had many candidates that could not be cleared. For example, of 44,636 candidates submitted by 162 schools in the Western urban area and checked before the 28th of August 2024, only 22,681, accounting for 51%, could be cleared. Less than 10% of candidates from 27 schools could be cleared in another instance. In fact, no candidate could be cleared for about 14 schools in another. All schools with candidates that could not be cleared were requested to urgently resubmit, having explained possible errors that they could have made. Sadly, the majority of candidates that could not be cleared had been assigned BECE results that did not belong to them. Almost all schools made these submissions. Some made as many as 3 submissions, and a few made 4. When questioned, the heads of most of these schools claimed that candidates were not attending schools, so it was difficult to obtain accurate information from them. They also used the same argument to explain the difference in names on their list for the different submissions. The difficulty that my ministry had with this argument was that they could not explain the basic admission into SS1 was done without accurate and confirmed BECA results. All schools were advised to upload candidates that had been cleared before the WAEC portal closed, but some sadly did not comply. By the way, 892 schools were able to comply with the deadline, and only 83 schools were in the position of not complying with this information. Now, let me two such schools are the Methodist Girls High School and the Government Municipal Secondary School at EC. Now, the Methodist Girls High School had an original submission of 597 candidates. My ministry cleared 347 on the 28th of August 2024. The school resubmitted 238 candidates on the 20th of September 2024 and had 66 cleared on the same date. A third clearance of 52 was made before the closure of the WAEC portal. This gives a total of 465 candidates cleared and the list sent to WAEC. The principal of the school was advised to upload cleared candidates, but she did not. She came in with an additional resubmission after the closing date of the portal, claiming that some candidates were now only just appearing at school. She was told categorically by my staff to expect difficulties with the old guards of the school. By the way, this principal was one of 6 that I suspended for 2 months without pay for other infringements with the placement process. And my understanding is that the principal, while she was suspended, was being paid by the old guards of the school. Now, the Government Municipal Secondary School PC, the government, I must state that it is now the old guards of the school who are urging us to take action. Yes? Now, the Government Municipal Secondary School PC originally submitted 629 candidates. My ministry cleared 580 on the 28th of August 2024. This is almost a month before the closure of the portal. The school resubmitted 33 candidates, and 19 candidates of these were cleared on the 23rd of September, to give a total of 599 candidates cleared for the school. This school failed to upload a single candidate. It is quite apparent from the data that we have in the ministry that going by the number of candidates that passed BECA, even with class repetition, the numbers being entered for WASC are very high. This suggests that schools are playing games. Now let me just share with you the data. Candidates passing BECA from 2018 to 2024. 2018, 97,726. 2019, 103,533. 2020, 108,674. 2021, 124,541. 2022, 131,433. 2023, 133,129. 2024, 125,092 candidates. Now, candidates for WASC 2018 to 2024. 2018, 33,396. 2019, 105,685. 2020, 151,741. 2021, 164,458. 2022, 206,784. 2023, 230,973. And 2024, 135,617. May I just note that in 2024 we repealed the repeaters policy, hence the drop in WASC candidates. But let me take you through an interrogation of this data. Note that a candidate who sat and passed Becker in 2020 would be in SS1 in 2021 school year. In SS2, 2021 to 2022, and in SS3, 2022 to 2023. If there is no repetition, he or she would be sitting WASC in May or June of 2023. Now, there were 108,674 candidates that passed Becker in 2020. But there was a total of 230,973 entered for WASC in 2023. More than double the number that passed Becker in 2020. Just a note and a food for thought. Note that my ministry was not checking entries at that time. Entries were being submitted by schools directly to WAEC. Now let's look at the annual school census numbers for SS2 and SS3, in which SS3 enrollment reported by schools is significantly larger than the SS2 enrollment of the preceding year. All that indicates, in other words, let me just explain that. It means that the numbers that are in SS3 far exceeds the numbers in SS2. So it means that schools are actually enrolling people at SS3. There is a quality issue here. It is normal and it is good practice that at least your candidate would be in your school for at least 2 years. The recommendation is usually 3. But let's assume, give and take, you take someone halfway through transfers. It will be 2022 so that you can ground them, mold them, and ready for the exams. But this is not what we are seeing. The fact that the CAS process has now changed and it's now yearly entries. Just think about it. Someone who comes in and is enrolled in year 3 should not have CAS for SS1 and SS2. So if they are submitted for entry, it actually means that that CAS is fabricated. We are focusing on providing quality. And if we are focusing on providing quality, I am sure you will join me in saying enough is enough. Yes. Now, there is also another thing that I just want to bring to your attention. The challenge that many are encountering is that names on WASC entries lists submitted to the MDSSC for checking Becker results vary from submission to submission. So you recall that I said some schools this year submitted 3 and some 4 submissions. Each of these submissions have different names. Yes, and this is why they are clear. Because if you have new names and the backend results are accurate, then they go through. But again, let me remind you, think about it from a quality perspective. Where are their cars? 1. Where are their cars? 2. Enough. It's enough. So let me also just and sometimes differ from class 1, the list submitted to WAEC, as well as the list of names utilized for batch registration. Let me just go over this point again. The challenge that many are encountering is that names on WAEC entries list submitted to the ministry for checking backend results vary from submission to submission, and also sometimes differ from class 1 list submitted to WAEC, as well as the list of names utilized for batch registration. When the names differ, WAEC has no alternative but to go by the names cleared by the ministry that are on class 1. I and my ministry are determined to minimize the damage to the future of our children caused by these games that are being played. In this regard, together with staff of my ministry and some members of this noble house, we have been doing the following. We have held face-to-face meetings with senior staff of the National WAEC office to try and get an extension of the opening of the WAEC portal during this year. Sorry, let me just. So when we found ourselves in a position where the portal was closed and some of our young people were excluded, we took the following actions. And I want to go through this very slowly. First of all, as is normally the case, the Chief Education Officer sent an appeal to the registrar in Ghana for the reopening of the online portal for uploading continuous assessment scores for year 1. This was done on the 14th of October of 2024. Unfortunately, we had a rejection. We then I personally solicited the support of the Gambian High Commissioner to Sierra Leone, Her Excellency Claudiana Cole, who used to be the Minister of Education of the Gambia, to intervene on our behalf. And I met with her on the 29th of January 2025, and she gave me my response on the 6th of February that she had approached the registrar, but the answer was again no. I also sent a letter to the Sierra Leone High Commissioner to Nigeria to request a meeting with my Nigerian counterpart. This letter was sent on the 27th of January 2025. Now, let me just inform the House why I approached my Nigerian counterpart. When we were processing the private WAS, some of our candidates, even with the private WAS, some of our candidates could not meet the deadline. And I intervened by approaching my Nigerian counterpart. We were in Washington together. And he was able to contact his nominee, and the portal was open for about 3 days on his intervention. Nigeria being the big player in WAEC. So again, I thought that we might be able to use the same approach to open the portal, and I approached my Nigerian counterpart on the 10th of March. We had a discussion. He did some checking and came back to me to say, unfortunately, he could not help because we've had this long track record of not submitting on time. This is embarrassing. We should never be in this position. But let me also say this. This House actually sent a letter to the registrar. This was facilitated by the Speaker, and the letter was actually signed off by the Deputy Speaker. Again, we have the same results. On the 20th of March, whilst we were having the council meeting, the new Chief Education Officer raised this issue at council, and we were advised to put in another letter. This letter was sent to the registrar, and the final result on the 29th of March was that the portal was not going to be opened because they had already started their logistics. So these are some of the measures that we have taken to make sure that we address that particular situation, and unfortunately, we were not able to do so. Now, what is going to happen with the students who were left out? My position has always been that these young people have got themselves into this position not due to their fault or their own doing, and therefore government has made a commitment to provide them with private WAEC. But may I stress, these are those students that are eligible for the exams. By the way, this year we took a different approach, and I have been working with the Minister of Finance to restructure my budget to make the payment. So this is not an extra cost. It is the cost that has already been allocated to the ministry. There is much more that I can say, but I hope that this gives an idea of the challenges that my ministry is facing and what I and my ministry are doing to address and resolve these challenges. I thank you for listening so patiently.
Honorable members, your comments and questions.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members. Listening to the Minister of Education, I see nothing new. Rather, I wish these were the excuses he brought forward when we had the meeting with the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Catherine, and is it Honorable Siafa in the office of the Deputy Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what the Minister has not done, he has not presented a critical analysis of when the portal was opened. When did the ministry asked for...
Hold on, Mr. Minister, take note, because you respond to all the issues. Take note. Yes, please.
When did the ministry ask for schools to submit? And because the schools have to do with two different verifications, first they have to send to the Ministry of Education for them to be verified through the Becker system, and later the ministry had to send the list to WAEC, and it was upon the list submitted to WAEC that the schools are going to submit their candidates now. So if you look at the date the portal was opened, and the date the ministry asked the schools to submit, and the date the ministry finally submitted to WAEC, you understand the differences. But in our closed door interaction with the minister, it told us clearly that indeed they were submitting the verification, the verified candidates to WAEC in piecemeal, and WAEC put a stop to that they are not going to accept the result, the verified results and the verified candidates in piecemeal. So they had to do everything together. It was that process that led to the delay and why many schools were omitted. And the minister admitted to that in our meeting. And that was why we were left with no option but to go back to the WAEC International to seek their consent to reopen the portal, because in this situation that the minister explained to us, it was us as a government that delayed the process. Appeals to go to Ghana to appeal on behalf of our kids, and that we took several steps to ensure that was done. And we continuously, the chairman of education was with us in that meeting. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the analysis given by the minister, comparing the kids who take the exams in 2020 to that of 2023, there are certain things we also need to get clear. One, before the advent of the free quality educations, it was agreed that students and pupils left the school systems because they were not able to go to SS1 based on the fees and admissions and every other thing that was happening. So naturally, with the advent of the free quality education, you saw more people coming back to the SS. So taking a direct analysis of those who took exams in 2020 to take the same exams in 2023, you will not have naturally the same figures. You will not. But come to talk of it, if you go back to the 2023 audit report, you will find out that even the auditor said that the government paid more for more candidates than the candidates who took the exams. This was at the time when the schools were submitting directly to WAEC. And one of the reasons why the ministry had to intervene was this was a normal practice from WAEC. Because WAEC would only send in the cost for students who have taken the exam after the exam should have been taken. So the numbers he was calling were not generated by the ministry. They were generated by WAEC after the exams. So we keep paying for kids that were not actually taking the exams. That is reported in 2021 audit report, 2022 audit report, and 2023 audit report consecutively.
Honorable member, you have just raised a very salient issue. Do you mean the state keeps paying for candidates that are not attempting the exams?
It is in the audit report. I wish the deputy speaker was here.
Mr. Minister, take note. We want to hear your response on that. Proceed.
And this is not just new in his tenure as minister. That was also the case when we had the now Chief Minister as Minister of Education. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, we have two sagas under this current WASC situation. One, again, he talked about the school census. I have engaged this minister more than any other minister in this government. What normally happens is, if you go to certain areas, you find out that there are schools running SS systems who do not have the permission to do so by the ministry. They know of it. It's an open secret. Did I call Sam? You know, the only language you understand is each other. So when it comes to the WASC situation,
sorry. We are also taking notes. The minister was giving specific schools for certain situations. So him to just make a general statement, he needs to direct us. If there are schools involved in abnormalities, give us instances that this school in this region, in this area, let us take note. So the minister is here.
These are the schools
yes. So we are going after them. So let us give us the names of schools that are involved in these abnormalities. Not all, just few.
Thank you, leader. You know what? One thing the minister emphasized, he said, enough is enough, and therefore we must ensure we solve the problem. Let me give two different scenarios of last year and this year. In last year, when I took up this matter again, you were then the deputy speaker and you presided over the matter. I was not saying I was satisfied, but we took resolutions that were supposed to make the situation better than it is now. In last year, schools were supposed to send their data direct to WAEC, and WAEC was pulling out information for schools to send even before the ministry. And I said, no, that should not happen. It is the ministry that owns the school, that runs the school and that pays. If I'm going to pay for kids, I should have a data of what I am paying for. So because of that, we had omissions of schools. The ministry at the time could not take full responsibility because the WAEC was dealing directly with the schools. So this year we said this WAEC should deal with the ministry and the ministry deals with the schools. So my question is, when was the portal open? When did the minister ask for for the schools to submit the data.
Mr. Speaker, I think you've just made a ruling that was suggested by the leader. For us to be on track, let the honourable member tell us the schools that are taking the WAEC and they are not in the ministry register. I think that was some of the schools. I think that was your instruction. We didn't hear from those schools because when the minister said enough is enough, those are the schools that we have to run after.
It's all right. It's all right. We'll hear from the minister.
You know, when you take the situation step by step, the first thing I want this house to do is, we have a scenario that I'm clearly stating. My interest is, when was the portal open? When did the ministry ask for schools to submit to them? When was it all the candidates verified, and when was the list submitted to WAEC for the schools, before the schools were permitted to submit? Mr. Speaker, let me say this. The last saga that is currently affecting schools now is because even the school principals lack confidence in the ministry to do the work they are supposed to do on time. Oh yes.
Honorable AKK, you know, let me play the devil's advocate. You see, sometimes the very heads of schools are the problems we are dealing with right now. The very heads of those schools are the very problem we are trying to solve right now. You know, I think there is a policy that clearly states that only school-going children should be paid for by government. So what normally some of them do is to collect money from people. When they collect money from people, they don't pay these monies to WAEC directly. They keep those funds and expect government to pay. That's what is happening. You know, during my time as deputy speaker, we had a lengthy discussion on that, and we solved some of these things. But very soon, I will allow the chairman to say his bit on some of these issues, because they went on investigation. I could barely remember. I ordered an investigation into some of those schools, and we even raised funds to give to the chairman and his team to go and do some causal investigation. But we'll come to that. You know, the very heads of schools are the problem we are dealing with right now. But anyway, proceed. But please, let's make it snappy.
I will.
Let's make it snappy.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, immediately allow so that we can have the flow of this thing in the interest of the state. But also, there are rules of procedure. Though, as I said in my opening statement, 14J, Ministerial statement, in our study orders, but it's in connection with question time to minister. So also this is going to question time. Deliberately, I asked my colleague, let us don't make hypothetical cases. Let us be specific. And I'll raise attention, content of questions. Expo 21, I refer to you 21E, 1E. Mr. Speaker, I mean, we cannot be going on. That a question may not solicit an expression of opinion. Auditor General's expression to this House is an opinion. You know that very well. Secondly, is the solution of an abstract legal cause or an answer to a hypothetical proposition. So that's why I'm asking for us to hammer this thing properly for the good of this country. The minister was very specific. When he took his data, he referred to schools. He called them by their names. He made comparative data analysis. When you have this year of the same number and the numbers have doubled, where's question? And he said enough is enough, that we should not continue this. So I'm expecting my colleague who has tremendous respect from the other side to say school A, they did A and B, Mr. Minister did not take action. School B, you are quiet for the fact that you are not doing the right thing and you did nothing. Mr. Minister did not take action. These are the things that we are looking for. But otherwise, we are going to keep going on and on. And we have other items on the other paper. But we still give credence to you and the the opposition whip to still lead us through with the right course. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I think we are still at the same position. Each school, if you look at every school as an isolated matter, then you're also thinking that there is no problem at all. What?
Many problems. Give examples.
Point of order, sir. Point of order. Colleagues, I beg you.
Make your undertone.
Please, no, it's not even undertone. I'm begging now. Let's forget about undertones. We want this thing. He has been talking about it over a year ago. With the last time we had the now minister, the chief minister, he also came here and answered certain questions. This is our flagship program. It's not for SFPP or APC or the sons of the paramount chiefs. It has to do with Sudanese. So, Mr. Speaker, let's forget about undertones. Let's allow him to play by the rules. Name and shame. Today's opportunity we have in this chamber. You have the ability to call them by their names. Nobody is going to prosecute you. If Mr. Minister has not done the right thing, Mr. Speaker, I don't need to take the mic. I know what you can do. Let us get the facts here, not be hypothetical cases here. Real things, man. Thanks.
Honorable AKK, can you state the facts?
Mr. Speaker, I think I have stated many facts.
Related to specific schools. You said
Mr. Speaker, I try to explain because I am confident.
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
Let's do that.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, like you said,
after you, let's hold it. Otherwise, we'll spend the whole
I'm not sure if my colleague on the other side is stating facts. Because he says some principals of some schools do not have confidence in the ministry. So it will do us more good, and the minister, if he will name all the schools, and the principal that doesn't have confidence to work with the ministry, so the minister will try to do better. Please, those are the things we do. If you don't have confidence, then
You know, when I listen to my colleague on the other side,
to discredit the free quality education, that's all it's to try.
may the kids, as the kids who have been deprived of see peace, may you not enjoy peace in your life.
Mr. Speaker, point of order. Thank you.
Honorable members, order. We have invited the minister here so that we are able to resolve this situation. So that we are able, as a parliament, to listen to what the situation is and proffer solutions. We are not here for any debate. Let's not make this into any debate. If anyone gets on, let us listen to what somebody has to say. The minister responds. We will listen to the response of the minister. We get the minister to respond, and at the end of the day, we all arrive at relevant conclusions.
Mr. Speaker, I'm appealing to both sides of the aisle. For me, in life, for every disappointment is an appointment. For every situation, whether it has to be the opinion of anybody negative, you can turn it positive if you have the facts. Now, I still talk to my colleague. It's over a month I've been listening to one from Gambia. Listen to him. He might not get all the facts, but for the mere fact that he's raising issues about our own flagship program, it's good for us to pay attention, and I beg you to give us a little bit of time. But, Mr. Speaker, let me make a reference to SO21F, J, so that we can get specific questions to the minister. J. So HI, sorry, Mr. Speaker, I, 21(1)I. Questions of excessive length may not be asked. Other questions to be the content of the question. So, please, sir, we have been yearning to listen a lot from you. Now, hit on the nail, the head on the nail, we are looking for the questions you put to the minister, and we are waiting for the response of the minister, and we come in. So, Mr. Speaker, let him do your needful.
One thing you do not know, one thing this House does not know, is that I have the fullest confidence in the minister. I have met with him once. Please, let's just allow the minister. I have the fullest confidence in him. He knows exactly what he's doing. The other day when I invited him, I was chairman of the PAC. When he came, he laid the issues there for all to see. I have the fullest confidence in him. Let's just give him the time. That's why I told him to take note. At the end of the day, he's coming to respond. He will respond to all of those issues. As far as I know, he has already laid the issues there. As far as I know, he has hammered the entire issue. This is not about government. This whole thing is not about what the government did not do or what the government did. This whole thing is about the conduct of Sierra Leoneans who are heads of schools that are misbehaving. It's about the conduct of heads of citizens who are heads of schools that are misbehaving. And they want to create the impression that the government. I heard the other day, they even formed an association. Some even want to make it political. But let me tell you, I trust the minister on this particular matter. Because we have been on this matter for quite a while now. And let me tell you what you do not know, honorable members. I know exactly what I'm doing. Let me tell you what you do not know. In certain regions, certain areas of this country, you have people who come with candidates for schools that do not even exist. The minister knows. You have people who deliberately, just imagine in their school, those at the worst classes, you go to a particular school, the row of candidates in the worst class will be 30. And they will submit 500 for exam. The minister knows all of this. How can you go to a school, the children in those schools at SS3 level that are expected to sit to the exam, you have just 30 of them on the school road. But when it comes to submission, they submit 500, 600 names, putting unnecessary burden on the government. These are the issues. I invited him here to come and let the public know so that we all go after those criminal heads of schools. That's the reason why I called him here. So that we go after the criminal heads of schools. They are putting unnecessary burden on the government. This is not about government, it's about citizens that are undermining the system. And he knows that. And Honorable Ekeke was at that meeting last year also, and we were able to identify some of these issues. And I got the chairman and his team to go and investigate. He will very soon come and tell us something. We have so many issues in our school system. It has been like that for quite a while now. Honorable Leader of the Opposition. It has been like that for quite a while now. People seem to be enjoying this kind of thing. They are making billions of nails at the detriment of the children who are actually supposed to sit to this exam. These are the issues for which I invited the minister. I did not invite him here for us to have some political debate. I'm not interested in that. But let's identify the issues and solve them. Let's identify the issues and solve them. Please. Yes, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as you rightly said, these are real-time issues.
Yes.
And this particular issue deserves as much time as possible. When you talk about flagship, it's not flagship of any political party.
Of course.
It's flagship of government of which we are part of that flagship. We are part of government. Mr. Speaker, there is no district. As I speak right now, there is no district of which the gate students or FPSC students or what students are not affected by these anomalies. There's no district. Every district is affected. So if we are bringing the issues, let us put aside some of our SOs and listen. Mr. Speaker, that will even delay the time. It will delay the time Let us listen to the presenter. He brings the issues. Mr. Minister will respond, and then we'll cherry pick from the issues and the response, and then we'll take a resolution. And upon that resolution, you will give your ruling based on those resolutions. But please let us allow the honorable member to make his points. And this is not about someone that gave a flagship. That's what it is.
I am aware.
It's not about flagship.
I'm aware.
And we are all part of the flagship.
I am aware that the honorable member is trying to explain what he thinks are the issues. Just give him a little bit of time. Let him say what he has to say. We listen. We have time. The chairman also is there. He's quite au fait with the issues. The minister is here. The minister is au fait with the issues. Just imagine the first place. They have given the principals a deadline. They gave them a deadline. Within this period, you should make sure you upload your candidates. They failed deliberately. They failed deliberately. They do not upload their candidates because they know if they want to go and upload those candidates, it will be difficult. They can't go around the system. So they are creating unnecessary problems. Unnecessary problems. We have invited him here to just edify us. To just edify us. Let him just edify us. Then we know the actions to take. Please, members.
Mr. Speaker,
Hold on, Honorable Kekede. Yes?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Let me have the mic.
No, please. He's not done yet.
Yeah,
Or you want to
it's
say something?
Yes.
Okay, give her the mic.
It's just a point of observation, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I'm a member of the Education Committee.
Yes.
All of us have worked assiduously
Yes.
to see that this flagship holds. And, this matter will not have been prolonged. AKK is not a principal. Honorable AKK is resident. And he raised...
From Cambia.
Okay, the Honorable from Cambia. He raised a very serious issue that has to do with the future of our children, the future of this country. And we have been with him all this while.
Yes.
That is why, as a committee, we have been working together with the ministry, and we know all what we have put in place, and he knows. You must have got an information from schools. Can we then know these schools that have been left out? Please, Honorable from Gambia, just note them so that we run after these people. We will make sure we bring them to answer some of these questions. Because you are not a principal, nor are you a senior teacher. You must have got this information from schools, from people. Let us name these schools, please, Mr. Speaker. So make sure that we do this thing.
Thank you very much, leader. You are right on point. I like your approach to some of these debates. Honorable members, I'm somebody, I sit here with my conscience. I sit here with my conscience and the oath I took for God and country. Some of these issues are not political issues. Some of these issues, nobody's going to get vote out of these issues. Nobody's going to get any vote out of these issues. I sit here with my conscience. I know what is amiss. I don't want this house to underestimate what we are dealing with. The issue we are dealing with today is something that has fleeced government of hundreds of billions of leaves. Hundreds of billions. This thing we are dealing with. So as far as I know, we can even decide as a house to get the ministry to provide us the list of schools all over Sierra Leone. A committee of the whole house can go from district to district. We can even decide, a committee of the whole house can decide each district will send 2 MPs, 4 MPs. We go from district to district to have this thing resolved. We can even decide with that. If the ministry is not resolving the situation, we can go. All of us can go. From district to district, region to region, to take note or to investigate these schools and come up with concrete plans. But the matter is very serious. It's not politics. Some of our citizens are undermining the state, they are undermining this nation. And we have to deal with this situation as citizens first, before politicians. Yes, Honorable Eke, please conclude now.
Mr. Speaker, I'll try not to respond to everything that has been said. And one thing I wouldn't say I'm boastful about it. I have made tremendous inroads in this education sector. And if the minister is talking about schools submitting to them this year, it was as a result of my intervention last year. And I know at the end of this year intervention, we are going to have more reforms. But if you think this is about AKK winning against the government, you're making a mistake. This is about solving the problem that has eaten into our society for years. Mr. Speaker, let me say again, the portal was opened by WAEC, a date was given. The ministry communicated to school on a particular date. But Mr. Honorable Bogus, you're disturbing the process. This is where the problem is. Wait, naming schools will not solve the problem. Allow me to name my president. Let me go to this now. You're making this thing problematic. The portal was opened in June, and this minister asked schools to submit in August. How do you want the schools to submit? I have not. Don't take this issue. I'll quit the word. Mr. Speaker, I'll quit everything. It is not deliberately. Hold on. You're getting this thing out of hands.
Yes,
Mr. Speaker, I've not said anything.
No.
Mr. Speaker, it's the House. Mr. Speaker, this is the House of Rules. Mr. Speaker, this is the House of Rules. The honorable member has raised this issue. I supported him I even advised that we not the minister. It is because we treat this matter extremely very serious. But we should also bear in mind that this is the House of Rules. Which rules? Mr. Speaker, let us concentrate ourselves on effort 21. Effort 21, 1D. Effort 21, 1D, Mr. Speaker, you can read.
What does it say?
Please, you have your SO.
No, read it. Read it. Read it.
Effort 21, Mr. Speaker. Questions, that's content of questions. 1. Questions shall apply with the following rules. B. A question may not contain arguments, expressions of opinion, inferences, imputations, epitaphs, or controversial, inimical, or offensive expressions, or be based upon hypothetical cases.
Technically, do you want, when I make my ruling?
Maybe you want to be.
Hold on. When I make
you want to be.
Hold on.
This one has been
sometimes when I make
you want to be.
Hold on.
That is not for you. It is not for you.
Hold on. Honorable members.
It's just interruption.
I will stand this house down if you all do not conduct yourselves. Let me tell you what the situation is. This minister is not here on question time simplicity. This minister is not here on question time. I see you keep referring to question time. He is not here on question time. This minister is here question to section 107, section 2A and B. This is not question time. When I make these rulings, when I summon people, you tend to question based on the rules. We have several documents we use in Parliament. If you don't look at this one, you get it wrong. It's here post 1 to 107 of the Constitution, not on the rules. It's not here on question time. That is why I'm allowing Honorable AKK. But Honorable AKK, you have just 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir. Yes, I want to thank you for your education here. I don't know why we are getting this confused. Even by the way the order paper is being laid out, it's clear that the minister is not here on question time. The procedures are very clear. When you look at SO 22, it is clear. If he was here on a question time, the name of the member who was asking the question, including the question to be asked, they are supposed to have been on the order paper, and a notice was supposed to have been issued. So we are leaders. Please let's make sure we don't go out and let this outside.
Leave that to me now.
Simple question, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, if we had invited the minister here on question time, I was going to go strictly by the rules. Members should have prepared their questions and asked those questions for him to answer. But he is not here on question time. I only invited him to come and explain. So he's making a ministerial statement. And when he made...
Mr. Speaker,
no, it's all right.
I think the ambiguity now is section 1072 does not make provision to ask questions.
It's all right. No, hold on. Sit down. Let me speaker, sit down. Hold on. Are you paying attention? If the minister has given his statement, it behoves me to allow anybody to say anything. Anything I say, as a matter of fact, I am the rules. I am the rules. So if I say something, you can say it. That's why it is clear that on the standing orders, you don't question my ruling. Because for the justice of the situation and how I look at the situation reasonable, that's how I react to them. You see, you confuse these rules a little. Don't forget I'm a very, very senior lawyer in this country.
Mr. Speaker.
Don't forget.
Mr. Speaker, I want to refer my colleague to also 22.
Hold on, I have dealt with more.
22, Mr. Speaker.
Listen, hold on.
It's your discussion.
Listen. Don't forget, I have dealt with more complex rules. Very complex rules. There's no rule as complex as the Court of Appeals, the Supreme Court rules. I've dealt with more complex rules. These are not complex. And let me tell you, these rules you are seeing, they are mean. They are mean. If you don't know, that's why sometimes when I make my ruling, somebody say, hey, this, that, it's because you don't understand. If you understand, you know, when I make rulings, you will not question them. Yeah, Mr. Minister, okay, 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker,
2 minutes.
Today I am not missing Abbas Pondo. Mr. Speaker, my question is very clear. When was the portal open? When did the ministry put out notice for schools to submit?
Mr. Minister, take note. Is that okay?
When did the ministry submit to WAEC?
Thank you.
The bulk.
Thank you, Honorable Eke.
Every other thing I'll say later.
Thank you. Yes, the chairman. The chairman, let me hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable members. We can all remember the last sitting. The honorable member from Gambia raised an issue relating to over 100,000 students with BRS that do not match with what WAEC is having. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, to lend credence.
Mr. Speaker.
To lend credence.
Mr. Speaker.
Hold on, honorable. Yes.
What is before us are two scenarios of students omitted. The current one, the minister, I spoke based on what the ministerial statement, which is addressing the first saga of students who were omitted because they delayed in submitting their cast and they were late to be submitted to WAEC. What he is referring to now is a second case of students who have gone through the cast and who are various issues, who the schools are complaining. I have not praised that matter at any
It's all right. Proceed. Don't worry. Yes, proceed.
Yeah, like I was saying, to lend credence to that claim, over 100,000 students being deprived of taking the exams because of BRS issues. What one would expect from the honorable member was to have come here in Parliament, if he was not able to come with them that day, to come here in Parliament like today, come with samples of those BRS, children with those BRS that are being deprived from taking their exams. Because the BRS, the genuine BRS, are issued based on the number of candidates, the names of candidates that have been cleared by the MDSSE. Those names are sent to WAEC, and similar names are sent to the heads of schools to upload. It is after that that the BRS, the genuine BRS, are issued. So if the honorable member is coming here with 100,000 students, over 100,000 students, having BRS but they are not allowed to take the exams, let him come with evidence to this house. Let him come with evidence to this house, evidence with those BRS of students that have been deprived, so that that will help us to go down the matter. Secondly, he was mentioning here about WAEC portal opening, when the submissions were made, etc., etc. Yes, there was a time when WAEC refused to accept the list of candidates from the ministry, with the excuse that they are not going to take them by piecemeal. Then after delaying to accept these things, time is going, time had gone, that was then that they turned around again to accept the same piecemeal submissions from the ministry. And at the beginning they said they are not going to take by piecemeal. Only later for them to turn, after wasting time, for them to turn again, to say, okay, bring these things so that we open the portal and then we begin, the uploading begins. So, that is the situation created by WAEC and not by the ministry. And the submissions from the principals to the MDSSE, there was enough time given for the principals to submit. But they were not also submitting in that smooth flow. They had to delay upon delay. They will be called to submit until, time has been wasted. That was the time that they came and submitted these things to the ministry. Ministry cleared, and then after clearing, they go again and resubmit to ministry, etc., etc. So all that ate into the time. But there was enough time. Enough time was given to the school heads. The example he mentioned about the girls school there and the school at Dockyard, enough time was given to them to upload. Some of them deliberately refused to upload. And then there was this talk about places we are not having network, we are having problems to upload because of lack of network, etc., etc. The solution of that was given to them. The solution that was given.
Yeah, Honorable. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Members, I therefore move that SO52 be suspended for the business of the House to continue.
Any seconder?
I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Who is the seconder? The leader. All those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Proceed.
Okay, so there was this I talk about network not available, etc., etc. What we and the ministry suggested, that is when I say we in the committee of basic and senior, we suggested to the school heads and to the DDs in the districts to tell their school heads to come to cluster centers that have been created wherein we are sure of the availability of network for them to be able to upload. And also in those centers, cluster centers that we have created, they will find everything to enable them to upload. They refuse to come to those centers. The school has refused to come to those centers. And then after that, they started complaining, we are having these challenges. Come to those centers, they refused. They refused. Up to the last dying minute, they refused to come there.
Who are these schools?
So why then do you want to blame the MBSSE? Now, the honorable member from Gambia, year in, year out, comes here with figures, manufactured figures, to tell the House without any shred of evidence.
Mr. Speaker.
Last year, he came here again with figures. Last year, again, he came here with figures of schools not being allowed to take exams, etc., etc. He didn't mention about Gambia, that not a single candidate was going to take the exams in Gambia. Only for me to come here and debunk that statement. Every now and then, Mr. Speaker, going on from now, please, I want to appeal to him. When he is coming here to make any statements or any claims of figures, we want to see evidence, not to just come and play to the gallery. I want to thank you.
Don't address the colleague.
Thank you.
Don't address the colleague, just address the issues.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, before the minister comes, I am prepared to give solutions to this problem for the sake of our country. I am prepared to intervene, and my interest of bringing up this matter is not to gain political goals, but rather for us to have a solution as a country. Mr. Speaker, when the chairman was making his statement, he made it clear that WAEC stopped accepting the piecemeal manner in which the ministry was sending in the data. And at that time, it was clustered, and the time was going. They allowed taking piecemeal at almost at the end. One, after the ministry had collected and in piecemeal from the schools and they were submitting in piecemeal to WAEC, now the problem generated when it was after the verification of the ministry that the schools were meant to generate their data with WAEC. What happened? In that scenario, because the school were going to interface again with WAEC, that was where the change of names happened. So, the first solution is, if the schools are submitting to the ministry and the ministry submits to WAEC, there has been no interface between the schools and the WAEC. The problem is solved. At that level, he's saying, one. Secondly, the Ministry of Education owns the schools. They run the schools. The schools admit kids at SS1. That is where the ministry needs to come in to verify all the kids going to SS1 to first of all ensure if they have the Becker exam results. Secondly, schools put in high marks for kids to go to those schools, and then in standard of the ministry's regulations. When we verify the kids as SS1, there is no need to verify the kids again as SS3 to create unnecessary delay for the schools. If you do it that way, then we'll have a smooth flow of the education sector without intervening. And schools, again, told me, Mr. Speaker.
Are you taking notes?
Told me, Mr. Speaker. Schools that are SS schools that are not approved by government should not run SS schools. What happens normally is I run AKK Academy. There is an Ekoma Academy. There is Timbo Academy, and only Latif School is approved. When it comes to WAEC entry, all of us take our candidates to Latif. So in actual register, Latif will be having 30 kids, but if we add all our kids to Latif School is going to have 200 kids. This is the problem, and the minister knows it. Mr. Speaker, we've been teachers, we know these problems. Let's find a solution.
Thank you very much, Honorable AKK. Now let me hear the leaders. Let me hear the leaders, then we get to the minister. Leader of opposition. Order. Proceed. After the leader of the opposition, we will listen to the leader of government business or his representative and the minister.
2 minutes. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, as I said earlier, the issue before this House is a real-time problem.
The issue before this House is the issue that has to do with Arsenal.
It's a real-time problem. And for us, there is no room to trivialize this issue. Because it directly borders on the future of our kids, and by extension, the future of our education system in this country. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, as I speak right now, research tells me there's over 5,000 kids are affected nationwide. Over 5,000. Can you imagine? They cannot take their exams for reasons of which they can in no way be blamed. Either because of the negligence or deliberate misconduct of heads of schools or administrative anomalies between the ministry and WAEC. We have 3 players here: the ministry, WAEC, and heads of schools. So there's a lot of administrative anomalies between this tripartite team. By the end of the day, who suffers? The parents and the kids. And they are innocent. They are innocent. The parents are innocent. The kids are innocent. As a result of the problems caused by these schools, as a result of the administrative lapse between ministry and WAEC. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, we are here at this stage to listen to the response of Mr. Minister. Upon that response, you know, I like your style. We are not here under your watch. We cannot be here for formality. This is not a talk show. We are here to take action. Under your watch, you've made so many landmark rulings that is working now. We need a landmark ruling on this particular issue. A landmark ruling of which immediate action is necessary by this House. We have all the powers to summon WAEC. In fact, in my opinion, this is a public interest matter. It even goes beyond select committee matter. This is a public interest matter. It cut across, and it deserves public interest attention. It deserves the attention of this entire House, Mr. Speaker. So my advice here, we've listened to the honorable member from Gambia. He was unable to make all his points due to so many interruptions. But I believe, in as much as you have confidence in Mr. Minister, I also have confidence in him. So he will be able to respond and provide solutions. With those solutions, we can make additions and we can take action. That is part of our role. As our officers' role, it is part of our role to take action and to make sure this thing does not repeat. And we need some way out regarding kids that have currently been affected. We need to find a way out. We cannot say that incident goes unabated, and then we decide to plan for the future. In as much as we are planning for the future, there needs to be a way out. Upon the end of this engagement, we need a way out to prevent, to stop what is going on, to stop the deprivation of a single kid that is eligible, that is due to take public examination. So on that note, much has been said, and our other paper is full. So I want to urge my colleagues that as we wrap up, we listen to the Minister to respond to those questions, and then we need solutions. We need to give us solutions to the challenges of this country regarding our education system. And based on that, we will take a solution, and then we will know what next to do. Thank you very much.
Leader of government business.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for explaining to us what has been happening in his ministry. Of course, as a parliament, we don't want to debate this, we want solutions, because our constituents are affected. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, even in Bauma Chiefdom, you have schools running SSS, but do not have, they are not qualified to register students for the exams. I've been faced with a situation where principals who are supposed to fill in students, pupils for the exams, refuse accepting names from other schools. And they call on me, honorable, do you have to talk to this principal to let accept two students there? I now know exactly where the problem is. I haven't listened to the minister. And the way forward is, can we stop these schools running SSS who are not qualified to fill in students? Or can we regularize their status? So when you run SSS, you should be qualified to register your students. Or else, if it continues like this, haven't listened to the minister. And again, the major challenge we have is the distance to schools. For instance, if we have a whole community like Jembe, and the community is running an SS, and the school, the village that is qualified, that there's a secondary school that is qualified to fill in students is in Bauma. And because the village want to run their own SS school, the school that exists in Jembe, which used to run GSS school, has now qualified itself to SS. And when these students go through this process from SS1 to SS3, the school now do not have the authority to fill in students. And they will be going to Bauma, asking the principal at Bauma to fill in these students. And that's where the challenges are. So, Mr. Minister, I have listened to you. We are not here to debate. We are here to proffer solutions. We are here to map out the way forward. What will happen to those that are qualified and that have not been able to enroll themselves into the portal? That's what we expect you to come and tell us now. What will happen to those people who are qualified and because of the neglect of these principals, their names have not been enrolled into the portal? And you have told us clearly that because it is an international examination and the secretariat is in Ghana, the secretariat in Ghana is not controlled by us. They have said no, they are not going to open the portal. And what you should be telling us now is, this is the situation, what's the way forward? And what's the way forward in the future? How do we stop these schools enrolling people who are not qualified? Can we have policies that you should not even enroll people at SS2, no SS3? These are the policies, and these are the policies we should be talking about as a parliament, as a ministry, and this is what we should support the ministry to achieve. Because if we continue debating, casting aspersions, blaming the ministry, blaming principals, blaming the educational officers, there will be no way forward. The deputy speaker sat on the committee and he knows the issues. Members of the committee know the issues. The ministry knows the issues. Members of parliament, we know the issues. But today, we have summoned the minister. The minister should be telling us, in the next exams, we will not be faced with situations like this. That's what we should be talking about.
that in 2025 or 2026 examinations, we should have regularized those that should sit to the exams and will not be faced, will not be warranted as a parliament to somebody again. That's what we should be talking about, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the members of parliament who have contributed, and I want us, all of us, to take this issue as a national issue rather than a partisan issue. Because it affects all of us.
Thank you.
All of us in our constituencies. So, Mr. Minister, please tell us the way forward and give us an assurance. You have your professional team here. Give us an assurance that going forward, we will not be faced with situations like this. When situations like this begin to surface, inform the committee that is responsible. And if need be, inform this house. Because all schools are under our purview. We are members of parliament and we are covering the entire country. We will begin to tell us way in time. So we will support you so that at the end of the day, we will not have parents who have been disadvantaged, who have spent a lot of money expecting that their children will be taking the exams. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, honorable members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leader of Government Business. Mr. Minister, before you respond, I like calling things by their names. Mr. Minister, let me inform you, if you don't know, that the problem also is with you in your ministry. Don't forget that officials of the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education are also involved in all of this. Never you forget that. So many of them in your ministry have schools. They are the ones who upgrade these schools to center level. They are the ones that are creating the problem. These principals will not go to you, they go to your officials. Look within your ministry also. When we had that lengthy meeting where all the stakeholders were there, we were also able to identify that part of the problem is with your ministry. But let me inform you today, Mr. Minister, that you are appointed by His Excellency the President to man that ministry. Because the President thinks you can profile the solutions. I'll be disappointed if next year, if we come here, we have cause to invite you here on this same issue. I'll be disappointed. If you don't want schools to go directly to WAEC, but to come through your ministry for vetting, you have all the powers. Just send the relevant warning to all principals. Against so period, every principal is required to bring his or her list, to the ministry for vetting before you upload. As simple as that. Any principal that violates, any principal that violates this particular rule will be suspended, will be sacked, or whatever. You have all the powers. It is for you to man basic and senior secondary education in the state. Make your rules. Tell them. Write to all the principals. Tell them, before you take any list, before you upload any list, bring those lists to the ministry for vetting. If you go direct to WAEC, these are the sanctions. And if one or two principals try to do anything against your directives, render the necessary sanctions. If you set clear examples, very clear examples, all others will fall in line. My advice, Mr. Minister, is for you to take control of that ministry. You have several officials of that ministry that are currently undermining you. Because they too are benefiting from this whole cycle. They are benefiting. They are the very ones that will tell the principals, don't bring your list, don't worry, we'll resolve it. They are the very ones that will take the list for principals. They will go to even WAEC. I know this. I was a teacher myself. I know all of these things. Because you have teachers in schools that even do admission in schools at the back of the principal. At the back of the prism, I don't know if you even know that. Mr. Minister, take control of your ministry. Take full control. You know, we are all in these jobs not to make friends. But some of us know if we have friends. We have workmates. It is for you to have workmates, not friends. Sometimes the very people that will come very close to you are the very ones that will confuse you. When you want to take such action, you say, no, don't do that. That will be counterproductive. And you don't even know that the very one that will advise you against such a decision are the very ones that are benefiting from the malaise. Please, Mr. Minister, when you respond, I will give you time very soon to respond to all the issues. I want you to proffer solutions. What do you think you can be able to do to resolve this issue? Because, of course, I'm not a politician, but if this thing goes up to 2028, my friends on the left will be happy. They'll be very happy. No, listen to me. We are all men of the world. We are all men of the world. Don't tell me that. So, Mr. Minister.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Before he responds.
Yes.
There is currently 2 messages on social media. I know he must have read them. And he has opportunity now to respond to play the record states.
Okay, clear.
2 years now we've been using this new syllabus. And when we had a meeting with him the last, he told us government has...
Don't bring any syllabus.
No, it is not new. It has to do with once. And in fact, this one is a bigger saga than the one we are currently managing. He knows it. This syllabus has been used for 2 years. And it has not been adopted, by my last information from the minister, by WAEC. Our kids are now going to SS3 to take the WASC. And WAEC does not have question banks nor prepared to accept this syllabus because we've not sent in the required funding as a government.
It's all right.
So
hold on.
Please speak to that, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Minister, please tell us what the way forward is. Tell this nation what the way forward is, and tell this house how you want this house to support you. Tell this house that, look, members of parliament have been having difficulties here. I encourage you to support me. Believe me, if I even go to my district, I'll visit the schools. I'll go personally. I don't have to be paid for that. I'll visit the schools to inquire and maybe to investigate something and send that to you. Mr. Minister, respond to the issues.
First of all, thank you very much for all the contributions. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, thank you very much for all the contributions. I have sat down and I've listened rather intensely and keenly to all the contributions. First of all, may I take the opportunity to just start off with my first statement that I made when I started my presentation. The first one was that I rise today to address a matter of grave concern. I say grave concern because it affects all of us. One that speaks to the heart of our commitment to educational accountability, quality assurance, and the rights of our pupils to fair and timely access to national exams. I meant every single word of that statement. There are a couple of questions that have been posed by the Honorable Abdul Karim. Okay. So the first one was that the crux of the issue that we are faced with is about the timing of the processing of the data. Honestly, it is much bigger than that. If we go down the road of just looking at it in terms of a process problem, we will find ourselves here next year. The reason why I say that, we did not have the same problem when we had the schools to register for their NPSC and BECE. Those 2 exams account for over 7,000 schools. we had not a single problem. But when it came to WAEC, which is only about 900 and something schools, we're in this mess. Now the reason for that is, with WAEC, there is quite a lot of money to be made. With NPSC and Becker, there is nothing. So if we go down and look at this issue and this problem as a process problem, then we are looking at the wrong side of the issue. So let me tell you why I'm saying that. So let me just go back to the time. I left this country on the 13th of September 2024 to attend a program at Harvard, and I also attended the United Nations General Assembly. I was with my colleague, who is sitting there, the Minister of Higher Education. When I left, on the 13th or thereabouts of September, all the data have come through for us. Yes? And in my handing over report to the Deputy Minister, I actually indicated that we had submitted, not in piecemeal, a wholesome data to WAEC. So when I left, I thought we were on top of the game. Yes? And so that's why I'm saying this is not a process issue. That they are toing and froing, backwards and forwards, after that date. Because the data that they had submitted to us was not accurate. And therefore they had fake back-end results. Yes? They are changing the submission from CAS 1 up to CAS 2. They are changing the submission. So again, it is much deeper than that, because people are adding on to this. People are responding to the fact that we had revoked the repeaters policy. And the reason why WAEC actually introduced this new system was to tackle this. Because, Honorable, let's go back to those figures. If you have 108,674 people taking an exam in the preceding 3 years, it is educationally, statistically, mathematically impossible for you to have 230,973 people taking the exams 3 years old. And as an educationist, let me speak to you. In education, we have what is called attrition rates. People will drop out of education. People will transfer, or people will even, at that age, someone who comes from a mining area might be offered a job, and the money might induce them to leave. So it is impossible for us to have that figure up. It is educationally not possible. Let me share some statistics with you, please. This is my field, so I get excited. You know, Oxford University, the best in the UK, has an attrition rate of 0.9%. That's the lowest in the university sector in the UK. The average is 5.3%. Now, if you take A-level students, the retention rate is about 93.7%, which means your attrition rate is about 6.3% for those who come from well-to-do families. That figure increases when you look at those who come from disadvantaged families. Retention, 86.8% for disadvantaged kids. So your attrition rate is roughly about 13.2%. So in Africa, in Sierra Leone, a developing country, that attrition rate might be twice that. So it is impossible to have that figure. The reason why we're having that figure is because people are making money. As I speak, yesterday, somebody called me, one of our ambassadors, to say, a child has just come and said that I have to pay some money for the exams, so I will take the exams. Well, if you're still paying money at this point, the first question was, we have free quality school education. If someone is asking you for money at this stage, it is corruption. Yes? But so this is the problem. The problem until we decide as a nation to take action. So what I'm saying, if if we are serious about this, we have to take action. And that action has started. So for those school leaders who did not submit their class 2, they have been suspended for 6 months without pay. Very much in line with what was suggested before. For those who did not submit class 1, the punishment must be more severe. And let me tell you, there are school leaders right now issuing fake BRS. You know it is fake because in most BRS should have the photograph of the candidate very clearly exhibited, and there are BRSs that do not even have a photograph. The ones that do have a photograph is so blurred. So this is corruption at the highest order. And except we take action, we will be here next year. But let me go further. You mentioned that there are some actions that we need to take. I think I agree with you that we should start this process at SS1. But don't forget, if we start the process at SS1, it will take us 3 years before we get to the WAEC level. Yes? The second thing is, we can have unique identifier, unique learner's ID. If you have a unique learner's ID, then you will solve the problem. So the next point you made, which was the third one, that in the audit report, there are candidates who are not turning up to the exams. Let me help you, please permit me to help you a little. Last year when we had the exams, we had 25,000 absences. 25,000 absences. And you know why you have 25,000? For the first time, you have 25,000 absences. Because our school leaders don't know much about data, they don't know much about computers. Because if they do, they will know that the system has been set up in such a way that whatever they do is going to catch them. If you change the VRS, the actual primary data that is going to be used is derived from class 1. Therefore, what's going to happen if class 1 was my name and my name was a fake name, I am going to be on that registration list, which means that if they've changed my name and the Honorable Thomas is now replacing me, what's going to happen? It is going to be that I am absent. This is why we have 25,000. And let me tell you, 25,000, do you know how much that costs? For these kids that are not taking the exams, our calculation is about $500,000. I am just saying, it is about $500,000. Yes, and let me say this, again I'm going to help you. We are not just offering to actually pay for these kids to do the exams. We've also approached a donor to provide supplementary classes for those pupils too. So what we are saying, we know, we care about our young people. So let me go to, so the point about this is learner critical. You mentioned about school census and the fact that there are schools all over the place. So let me tell you of some of the measures I've taken. One, I've asked my internal auditor to do an audit of our approval process. Approval process is where the problem starts. So what we are now saying is that some of these schools, we want to make sure that the approval, when we approve a school, we will gazette the approval. So you will have a list that have been approved by us, and the public will know it. We can even... We will review the approval process and make sure that that is gazetted. Also, in terms of the school census this year, what we have now agreed to do is to make sure that after the school census, which we are asking all schools to participate, because if it doesn't participate, it will have an effect on your claiming subsidies. We have invited NAMIA, which is the National Monitoring and Evaluation Authority, to come in and do a sample of those schools. So you can tell us whatever figures you want, but we will, unannounced, go into those schools and verify your numbers.
Assurance.
Yes? Yes. So, just going back to a point that was made by you, the deputy leader of government business, in terms of the young people, we've made a commitment that those who are eligible will be paid for by government. In addition, we'll provide some additional supplementary classes. As I speak, our figures stood as 83 schools. But I will tell you that when this third-party donor organization contacted the school, that figure has now been reduced to 59. So even the figures that we have currently, I believe will be reduced. Last year we had 10,500. We submitted that data to a third-party, a private sector third-party organization, not my ministry, third-party organization. Do you know what we found? 4,000 duplicate names. So this means Conrad Saki is registered in Freetown, Conrad Saki is registered in Bombali in the north, Conrad Saki is registered in Kenema in the east, Conrad, all at the same time. So Conrad Saki can only turn up to one exam. It then means that if I'm in 5 places, 4 of those places are absences, and government is paying for it. This is why I am pleading to all of you that enough is enough. Let me end by a statement that you made that I really want to address. The good practice in terms of quality assurance in education is no longer the inspection and that type of thing, which is a police approach to education. We are now talking about the post-police era, where we do continuous improvement. So if I were to use last year and compare this to this year, well, we have made some improvements. I will call them significant improvement. There is still more to be done, and we will continue to reassure you that these things will be done. But let me just share with you. Last year, there were 892 schools that registered for Class 1. No, sorry. Last year, there were 816 schools that were registered for Class 1. This year, there are 892. That is an addition of 76. And last year, we had about 248 schools that were affected. This year, it is 83. It has come down to 59. Yes, and what I'm also saying, we have more people taking the exams this year than people taking the exams last year. So it is not the same. On that basis, let me end with a few positives, with a few way of thinking ahead. So the first thing, this starts off with, first of all, approval process. We have seen when we looked at those who did not, yes, when we looked at I'm just So first of all, it starts off with the approval process, for which we have already done an internal audit, and we are taking some measures on it. We are also then the approval of schools. So now what will happen once the school is approved? We will do all schools, because this problem goes beyond SSS. So what's going to happen? Those schools will now be gazetted once they are approved. The second thing is, we do have a bill that is going to come through this house. A bill that all sides of the house have worked on. All of the issues that we have discussed so far are in that bill. One of the reasons why I have delayed it, because I was very insistent that this thing about caste needs to be there. And there was a throwing and throwing between ourselves and WAEC, where they think that it shouldn't, but then I have been able to prevail upon them, and it's now in the area. So in that sense, that bill will come to the House, and you will see that most of the issues that we've discussed will be there. The third thing is, I have mentioned the fact that we need to start to monitor the SS1, and we need to do the verification at SS1. And the fourth is the fact that we want to also make sure that we introduce unique learner ID for that SS level. It is important that we get it right because it makes it almost impossible for us to have duplications and all of these things. On that basis, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity you've given me, and I hope that I have been able to answer all your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. You know, I was going to urge a member of parliament to move a motion on, you know, our conclusions. But fortunately, you've just told the House that you are working on the bill that will be brought to this House. And am I right to say that the bill has all the solutions?
It has all the solutions.
All the solutions.
We have all the solutions. We have the support on both sides of the house.
Okay. In fact, when the bill comes here, we'll do our own bit. We'll add the pieces we think are necessary to ensure that we have a system that cannot be infiltrated. In the circumstances, honorable members, I want to take this opportunity to thank you very much for your patriotism. This is what we call nationalism. This is what we call patriotism. It is not about politics. When it is time for politics, everybody will be in the field campaigning. But some of these national issues should be addressed nationally. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. You are released. Yes, Mr. Clark.
Mr. Speaker, before the announcement of the next items, I would like to amend the other paper.
Proceed.
The mover of the appointment committee now, Right Honorable Bashir Seleki, and the seconder, the Honorable Abdul Karim Kamara from Gambia. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Deputy Leader of Government Business. I don't know why you like Honorable AKK.
It's my man. I see myself in him.
All those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Motion by the acting leader of government business for the amendment of order paper has been carried. Motion of the Committee on Appointment and the Public Service. Proposer Honorable Bashir Siliki. Seconder Honorable Abdul Karim Kamara.
Honorable members, this sitting is stood down for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Please.